There is a strange memory that lives inside almost every man. It doesn't disappear with time. It doesn't fade because someone better came. It simply changes shape, hiding in places he rarely visits until something unexpectedly unlocks it. A familiar song. A certain perfume. A rainy afternoon. The way a stranger laughs for half a second. Suddenly, a part of him he thought had died quietly opens its eyes again. Not because he still wants her. Not because he regrets everything. But because the first woman who taught him what love felt like also unknowingly taught him what loss. The frightening part is that most men never realize they are. People often assume men move on faster because they speak less about their emotion. But silence has never been proof of peace. In many cases, silence is simply where emotions go when they cannot find language. The first love becomes something he stops mentioning, not because it disappeared, but because faces change. Life becomes crowded with responsibilities. Yet somewhere beneath everything else, there remains a memory untouched by reality, frozen exactly as it was the day it ended. Every relationship after that is experienced by a different version of him, one that already knows disappointment exists. That is why the first love occupies a place no one else can replace. It wasn't necessarily the greatest relationship. It was simply the last relationship experienced by an innocent mind. This is where memory begins to betray him. The brain rarely stores experiences exactly as they happened. It stores emotional peaks. The first overwhelming excitement. The first sleepless night. The first time someone looked at him as if he mattered more than the rest of the world. These emotional peaks become landmarks inside his identity. As the painful details slowly disappear, the emotional intensity remains almost untouched. Over time, his memory quietly edits the story. Arguments become shorter. Problems become smaller. Beautiful moments become brighter. The relationship slowly transforms into something that may never have existed. He isn't haunted by reality anymore. He's haunted by an edited version of reality created by nostalgia. That is why he sometimes misses someone who would never make him happy today. It sounds impossible until you understand that people don't always grieve people. They grieve unfinished emotions. Closure is not forgetting. Closure is the mind accepting that a chapter has ended exactly where it needed to. But first love rarely offers that luxury. It often ends while both people are still emotionally incomplete. Questions remain unanswered. Conversations never happen. Apologies stay trapped inside imagination. The brain hates unfinished patterns. It returns to them repeatedly, trying to solve a puzzle that no longer exists. Every return strengthens the memory instead of weakening it. Many men believe they miss her, when in reality they miss certainty. First love usually arrives before life becomes complicated. Before betrayal teaches caution. Before disappointment creates emotional distance. Before every smile is questioned and every promise is measured again. Back then, trusting someone required almost no effort. Loving someone felt natural because nothing inside him had learned to protect itself yet. Vulnerability begins asking permission from fear. He may still fall in love again, but part of him now watches from a distance, waiting for history to repeat itself. What he misses isn't only her. He misses the version of himself that believed love could exist without consequences. There is another reason this memory survives so long. Identity is built through emotional milestones. Ask a man to remember his first serious love, and he rarely recalls. He remembers where he lived, what music he listened to, what dreams kept him awake at night, who his friends were, what kind of future he imagined. The relationship becomes tied to an entire season of his life. Losing her feels like losing an entire version of reality. That chapter can never be recreated because time itself has moved on. Even if she returned exactly as she once was, he wouldn't be the same man who loved her. That realization creates a quiet sadness few people ever learn to explain. Curiously, many men don't fully understand the impact of their first love until years later. While living through it, they believe it is simply another relationship. Only after enough time passes do they notice invisible changes inside themselves. They hesitate before trusting. They apologize less. They expect disappointment sooner. They protect themselves more carefully. They become emotionally efficient, learning how to survive rather than how to feel. Looking backward, they realize the first heartbreak didn't simply end a relationship. It quietly rewired the architecture of their emotional world. This is why certain memories appear without invitation. They are not random. The brain constantly compares the present with emotionally significant experiences from the past. A conversation that feels familiar. A smile that resembles someone else's. A quiet afternoon carrying the same light as years ago. None of these moments are about coincidence. They are reminders that logical memories fade through repetition. Emotional memories survive because they remain connected to identity. Every unexpected reminder whispers the same uncomfortable truth. Some parts of your past never truly become your past. Ironically, the women who come later sometimes struggle against a ghost they cannot see. They notice moments when he seems distant without understanding why. It isn't because he loves someone else more. It is because comparison happens automatically inside the subconscious. Not comparisons of beauty or personality, but comparisons of emotional firsts. Nothing can ever become a first again. No matter how extraordinary another relationship becomes, it cannot recreate the psychological shock of discovering love for the very first time. First experiences permanently change the scale by which future experiences are measured. But there is another layer almost nobody discusses. Sometimes he doesn't miss the relationship at all. He misses who he believed he was inside it. Before rejection challenged his confidence. Before mistakes convinced him he wasn't enough. Before loss taught him that love can disappear without warning. The first relationship often contains the last version of himself untouched by emotional failure. Looking back feels comforting because it allows him to briefly reconnect with someone he can never become again. In that sense, first love becomes less about another person and more about mourning an earlier identity. Time performs an unusual trick on emotional pain. It removes sharp edges while preserving emotional weight. That is why a man can remember his first love decades later without crying, yet still feel an unexplainable heaviness in his chest. The pain no longer burns, but it occupies space. It becomes part of his emotional landscape, like an old scar that no longer hurts until cold weather arrives. He learns to live with it so completely that he forgets it exists, until something insignificant suddenly reminds him. Most people think forgetting is the opposite of remembering. It isn't. The opposite of remembering is no longer needing the memory to explain who you are. Some men never reach that point because the first love became woven into the story they tell themselves about life. Every success afterward, every failure, every relation, not because she controlled his future, but because she introduced him to emotions powerful enough to permanently alter his perception of connection. This explains why meeting her years later often feels strangely empty. The fantasy survives only while distance protects it. Reality rarely resembles memory. She has changed. He has changed. The people they became have almost nothing in common with the teenagers or young. Instead of relief, the encounter often produces confusion. The woman he spent years remembering never actually walked into the room. Only the present version did. The one he missed had existed only inside memory for years. And perhaps that is the cruelest part of first love. It creates a person who no longer exists. Every year memory quietly edits the image until it becomes impossible for reality to compete. He isn't chasing her anymore. He is chasing an emotion trapped inside a specific moment in time. One that cannot be recreated because the person who originally experienced it disappeared long ago. We spend years believing certain people remain unforgettable, when in truth what refuses to disappear is the feeling of becoming someone new through them. So does a man ever truly forget his first love? Maybe that has always been the wrong question. The better question is whether he ever stops carrying the emotional blueprint she unknowingly left behind. Because long after names fade, photographs disappear, and entire decades pass, that blueprint quietly shapes how he trusts, how he hesitates, how he loves, and how he protects himself from loving too deeply again. Somewhere inside him, hidden beneath years of experience and carefully built emotional walls, there remains a younger version of himself who believed love could only move in one direction. He never knew that the first person to teach him how deeply a heart could open would also become the first person to teach him how quietly it could close. And perhaps that is why first love is never completely forgotten, not because she stayed with him, but because some part of him never truly left the moment she walked away.